It's the greatest podcast in the history of the world.
It goes high up and under the full forward. Becky's taken a ripper!
He has a bounce, he crosses 50, he pins the ears back, and he drills the goal!
All the latest news and views from around the VAFA.
Here's the big man!
Big on.
He's done it again! Oh, this bloke extracts some of the finest
From outside the arc. It's a long bomb from outside the arc.
This is for the love of the game.
You can tweet that and hashtag it bloody good.
Hello and welcome to For the Love of the Game. Well, coming into round 14, we expected it was going to be a very, very pivotal weekend of football up and down through the divisions, and so that proved to be. Jason Bennett, Matty Donald Brayden May. Where were you on the weekend, Matty?
Hello to you, Jace, and to Brayden. And I was at Turek Park on the weekend, and it was an absolutely ripping game, a top four encounter between Old Zabs and Old Brighton. Really impressive performance on the road from the Tunners, and every time it feels like we're just about ready to write them off as a premiership fancy, they give us something like that and prove that, no, they're still very much in the mix for taking out the title again in 2026.
Yes, that top four is becoming more and more fascinating by the week in Premier Men's. Brayden May, welcome to you.
No, thank you. Hello, Matty. It's good to be back. I had the mega wall going on the weekend.
Well, you're about to have the mega wall of all mega walls this weekend. We've got 10 live games going, all 5 Premier B showcase rounds, all 5 Premier games, 3 Premier Men's, a Premier B Women's, under-19 Premier game, 10 games of footy this Saturday coming up.
I think I'm going to have to dig out the old iPhone 3 or something just to get
on the screen.
I'm going to need it. It's a fantastic weekend of footy, and what a great opportunity to showcase Premier B. Matty, the expert, we'll get into later with us, but what a great weekend to showcase
How'd the
our
tips go, Matty?
I don't know, Jace.
I
Wasn't paying attention this
I
week.
do. Yeah, I do. We'll start with winning back Premier Men's as we regularly do. And the question now is the top 4 settled? That's the question. The relegation race took another twist. As many as 6 teams in the battle now to avoid the drop zone, but 4 games decided by a combined total of 16 points. 4 games by 16 points on Saturday afternoon in Premier Men's.
Gee, that's absolutely incredible that we're getting to the final month of the season and we're still getting contests that are too close to call like that, across the whole board.
Well, we're going to start with one that was too close to call. Old Trinity and Caulfield Grammarians at Daily Oval. Huge ramifications in this one for the relegation race, given it was a golden opportunity for the Fields to kick 2 games clear of the Tees, or for Old Trinity to join Caulfield on 5 wins. Now, as it happened, neither of those scenarios panned out. Old Trinity controlled possession early, but it was Caulfield who did all the scoring. They led by 15 points, 2-3 to zip in the first term, held Old Trinity scoreless. Even though Old Trinity had 35 more touches, Brayden, it's that same thing we keep talking about with the Tees. They control the footy, but they don't get it forward and turn it into score.
Yeah, it's one of the great challenges, and at every level now, there becomes a question when he's over-possessing and when do you just get it forward and create a bit of chaos. There's nothing worse than a defender with quick ball movement, and that played into Caulfield hands, obviously, to be able to get some numbers behind the footy and then rebound quickly.
Yeah, clearly they did a good job because Trinity actually had 15 inside 50s to 10, so they actually did have more of the footy, but out of those 15 inside 50s, didn't score once.
No, and I mean, if you're sort of chipping it around and over-possessing the football, it means that you give your defence more time to sit up, so even if you're getting those extra entries, you're in a better position as a backline to cut it out.
And sure enough, they had 30 turnovers in the first term, Trinity, because Caulfield did that, pushed numbers behind the ball, defended well. But the Tees continued to crack in. They got first hands on the footy again in the second term. This time they managed to get a little bit of return on their investment, played a bit more efficiently. Dom Payman got them on the board finally 6 minutes into the second term and then kicked a second 4 minutes later, and they had the lead for the first time. A couple of goals in response from Caulfield, and it was Caulfield back out to 13 points deep into time on. Couple of goals late for Trinity, and scores were level at the major break, and that turned out to be an indicator of how things would pan out. Neither team could really find their way through an opposition defence. It was a pretty low-scoring game, extremely high pressure. Both teams defended really well. Took another 9 minutes for the first goal of the third term. It came to Caulfield, and then another 13 goalless minutes after that. The Fields again broke the drought. They were out to 13 points in front, and then got out to 19 at three-quarter time. And in such a low-scoring game, you're thinking, oh, maybe Caulfield's finally cracked it open, but the Tees weren't done. Don Payman kicked a goal. Lockie Mulcahy kicked a goal, so they had 2 in the first 5 minutes. Got right back into the game. James Ingpen jumped on a dump kick, took a mark, kicked a goal, made it a 1-kick game 24 minutes in. And then it was a desperate last few minutes. The Tees were searching for the goal to tie it up. Caulfield had numbers back. They were doing everything they could to prevent that goal coming through. And in the end, it was Don Payman again, who's just such an important player for this Tees team. We've spoken about it throughout the year. He might be the single most important player to any team in Premier Men's. He went back, nailed his set shot, locked the scores up with 27 and a half minutes gone. Went back to the middle. Caulfield actually got it forward. It was heading towards goal. It was bouncing towards the goal. Some great heads-up play by a Caulfield defender to flip it back over their head before it went over the goal line, kept it alive. And in the end, 4 or 5 minutes later, the siren sounds. Neither team scored. Our first draw of the year in William Buck Premier Men's, and another curveball into the relegation race. So this game now leaves Old Trinity 1 game plus 5.3% behind Caulfield. So still very much in with a chance, given there's still 4 games to go, if they can post a win or two, because their gap to Old Haileybury and Uni Blacks is now just half a game, which effectively cancels out the inferior percentage that Trinity have got. So, and even Old Scotch really are only 6 points ahead of the Tees. And you look at the Tees run home, they've got Old Scotch, Uni Blacks, St Kevin's and St Bernard's. So a couple of games there, Matty, that you look at and say, you know what, they're winnable. If they play well enough, Trinity can win at least a couple of their last 4, and that could get them out of trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. They'd be fancying themselves to beat St Bernard's on the last day of the season, which might be, you know, the one that gets them out of trouble. But certainly in that run in, there's a couple of winnable games. I mean, Uni Blacks have been a bit up and down at times this season, as have Old Scotch. So there's some opportunities there for them to sneak a win. And Dom Payman, I mean, we talked about it. He's won them 2 points there. He's kicked half their goals, including 2 in the last term. The tying goal, he is very important to him indeed.
So they managed to pinch a couple of points, which might prove critical at the end of the season. Donald McDonald must have been happy with that, because at the end of the day, they've come close time and time again. They haven't been able to quite get that win, but it feels like each week, certainly their last week's performance was the best they'd played in 2 months. And again, they went as close to winning as you could possibly get this week.
Yeah, no, he said they finished the game really strongly, put themselves in a position where they were a chance to win it. And that's been the case for a few weeks now. So they're getting into these positions, which is, you know, a really positive sign. The only problem was that they just couldn't score into the wind, whereas Caulfield did. And that was the difference between 2 points and 4 for them. Reserved praise for Luke Teal, who's having a terrific season, as is Christos Manasakis. The leaders were terrific, but it's back to the training ground, because, as you say, it's a big month coming up for the Tees.
Yeah, so Caulfield now, Matty, still 1 game plus 5% ahead. They've got that tricky road trip to the Snake Pit, and anything can happen out there, knowing that St Bernard's are also fighting for survival. But if they win that game, that puts them out of the Snow Dogs' reach, because they'll kick, I think, 3 games clear with 3 to play. So that would rule Snow Dogs out in terms of Caulfield having to worry about them, but certainly still Old Trinity and even the teams below them in the mix. They've got St Bernard's, Old Scotch, Uni Blues, Old Brighton. It's a tough run home for Caulfield. So these 4 points against St Bernard's this week going to be massive for them.
Simply must win. Simply must go there and get the 4 points if they are to probably stay up. Because I think you'd look at those last 3 and say they're the underdogs there. The long price favourites, if there was a betting market on this in terms of those 3 games, just based on previous results and form. And Paul Saddle, he's a master coach. He's one of the most highly respected in the VAFA. So don't be surprised if he pulls out a trick or 2 in the last couple and does beat some of those teams. Like you look at a Uni Blues or something. That's the type of game where the field's no one would give him hope. Free hit, young side, and go out there and win. But he was really proud of his group on the week. And he said he was pleased with how they defended, how they pressured. But then the story of the season, he said another 7 changes, 3 debutants. It could have been unsettling, but they were just composed all day. Ollie Wilson was elite down back. Jack Elwood set the standard. Will Allen played his best game at senior footy. So pleased to walk away with 2 points, but he knows there's been some tight games and they need to keep learning how to handle those.
Ollie Wilson was spectacular. Just his 7th Premier Men's game for Caulfield. 34 disposals, 12 contested, 11 rebounds. Yeah. Game number 7 as a kid.
Phenomenal performance, that.
Yeah, super effort from him. So again, Caulfield found another one. We keep talking about how they're promoting their under-19 kids and getting them up to senior footy. It augurs well for the future for Caulfield, but the future for them is right now. They need to win this week against St Bernard's. Well, speaking of St Bernard's, there was another relegation race thriller at Princes Park. Old Haileybury found a way to hold out a typically determined Snow Dogs in a game that could have gone either way again. Coming into this one, we looked at the numbers and it suggested it was going to be a very close game, and so it proved to be. The Snow Dogs sharp early. They kicked 2 goals in the opening 4 minutes. The Bloods then settled in and kicked 2 of their own. And this was kind of the story of the day. Teams kicked goals in bunches. 2 late goals to Haileybury in the first term gave them a narrow advantage. They were 7 points up at quarter time. And then they kicked 20 points clear when Brady Seckle and Coney Goodwardener kicked goals to kick 2 in a hurry, capitalising on turnovers. But sure enough, Snow Dogs responded. A couple of quick ones of their own 4 minutes later. They got back within single digits. Matthew Watson kicked his 3rd at the 27-minute mark of the second term and got back into the front by a point. Noziara kicked 1, and it was a 6-point game at half-time, and it felt like this one was going down to the wire again. We've seen so many close games at Princes Park this season. Arm wrestle continued in the 3rd term. The Bloods struck first. They kicked a couple of goals. They got out to 3 goals up. The Snow Dogs again came back. They kicked 4 goals in 7 minutes. Ferg McNichol kicked 3 of those 4 goals. He had a fantastic quarter. They hit the front by 7 points at three-quarter time, and you think maybe it's finally the Snow Dogs on the road. The hosts then got control again. They kicked the first 4 of the last quarter to get back out in front, and they were 19 points up at the 23-minute mark. And again, such a tight game, that felt like a winning lead. But Dogs refused to quit. And we've said all year, Matthew Watson, if you can get it into him, he can win games for you. And he entered this game in a big, big way. He'd already kicked a few. He kicked 3 goals in 3 minutes. The Bloods barely touched the ball in that time. It was goal out of the middle, goal out of the middle. 3 in a row. Suddenly, it was a 1-point game, and there was at least a few minutes left on the clock, but the Bloods managed to dig in. They hung on by the very, very most... by the skin of their teeth, really, is probably the best way of putting it. And they could be called the Cardiac Kids, the Baby Bloods. I know they've been called the Baby Bloods this year, but that was their 5th game decided by 5 points or less this season. Wow. 5 games they've had. And fortunately for them, they've won their last 3. 1 point over Caulfield in round 9, 5 points over Trinity in round 12, and now 2 points over St Bernard's in round 14. Without those wins, they'd be last, Old Haileybury. Yep. So it's been a super performance from them to find ways to win. They currently sit half a game ahead of Old Trinity in that race to avoid relegation. They're now 3 games clear of the Snow Dogs. So for the Snow Dogs, it's just been an agonising run, hasn't it? They've kept showing up. They're fighting every week. No premiership points to show for their endeavours. Their now losing streak is now 7. But that's a 4-point loss to Scotch, a 4-point loss to Zavs, a 2-point loss to Haileybury in the last 5 weeks. It's just been brutal for the Snow Dogs. Yeah, it's been really unfortunate. And again, such a withering run in that final term. And they've shown in the last few weeks that they're capable of flicking the switch and scoring goals really quickly. They did so against St Kevin's a few weeks ago. They did it against Zavs last week, and they've done it again at the weekend to give themselves a chance against Old Haileybury. But no, really can be a cruel game, can't it?
It is, because yes, they're playing a lot better than what their recent record would suggest. You'd feel like they've got to snap that losing run sooner rather than later. But
and now they're 3 games behind the Blacks and Haileybury with 4 to play. They've got appointments with Uni Blues and Brighton over the next 2 weeks. It's a long road back for the Snow Dogs. Yeah, it never say never until it's mathematically impossible, but it feels like it's going to be a pretty tough ask for them now. And for the Bloods, Brayden, we talk about runs home. Well, their run home is absolutely brutal. It was such a critical win for them to get those 4 points because they've got 3 of the top 4 teams plus the tricky and unpredictable Uni Blacks in the final round. So they're only half a game ahead of Trinity. They're far from safe yet. They've got St Kevin's, Old Brighton, Old Zabs, Uni Blacks. It's a tough run home for Haileybury. You get a feeling, looking, as we just said, about Old Trinity's run home and their chance to win a game or two, it feels like the Bloods are going to have to pinch an upset or 2 here to be safe. Yeah, I think you're right, but it might come down to back to the stat you just mentioned, that they're 3-2 in those games decided by 5 points or less compared to the Snow Dogs. Flip those around, we're having a different conversation, thinking where are the Bloods going to save their season from as well. So it's just a massive result for them on the weekend, but yeah, I don't know how they keep doing it. Guy Martin has probably aged this season, but it's a fantastic thing. Like, talk about learning on the job. Like, there is only one way. You can train these situations, but you get on the training track, everyone knows where the ball's going to go. Everyone knows what we need to do. So to do it against opposition at this stage of the season, like with that little bit of 8-point game factor to it, given the relegation battle, it's a massive result for the Bloods, and don't be surprised if they do pinch a win or 2. That result on the weekend does them a world of confidence. A massive, because now they're 3 games ahead of the Snow Dogs, plus 7%. And as we've noticed, they've got such a tough run home, the Bloods, and they won't start favourites in any of those games. But St Bernard's have got Caulfield, Uni Blues, Brighton and Trinity. A couple there at least they'd look at and go, hey, we're a chance to win those. If they could pinch one against Blues or Brighton and Haileybury don't win any, then suddenly the Snow Dogs are still alive. So they've still got plenty to play for. As grim as it looks right now, if you look at Haileybury's run home and think, maybe Haileybury don't win another game potentially, there's still plenty for the Snow Dogs to play for, and that starts with Caulfield this week. Oh, definitely, yeah. So it's it's a case of sort of 4 elimination finals for St Bernard's right now. They're at that stage. They've almost got to run the table, but Caulfield and Old Trinity at home will be games that they'll gear themselves up for, that they think they're a chance. If they can nick one of Uni Blues or Old Brighton, which the Tunners game is at home as well. And Old Haileybury or Old Trinity don't win any games, you never know. They might just be able to climb their way out. So the 2 coaches, firstly, let's start with Steve Alessio. What sort of mindset is he in after another disappointment? Well, he's been in this situation before. He just described it as another game with a familiar ending. Gave themselves a chance to win it, found ways to score quickly, to stay in the game late, but were just unable to make the most of moments throughout the course of the match. The Old Haileybury midfield, he said, was just more effective than the Snow Dogs throughout the course of the day, but they gave their forwards a few looks in the last term when they tweaked a couple of things, but just some poor turnovers, fundamental mistakes at key times was just too costly in the end. And from a Bloods perspective?
Yeah, Guy Martin touched on exactly what we did. They probably need another win or two before the end of the season, and they'd love to knock off one of the big boys, the top four, starting with St Kevin's this week. Said it was a really interesting game, but St Bernard's just kept reeling them in every time they threatened to blow them away. Pay credit to Brady Segal with 26 disposals, 3 goals. Ollie Houghton, Max Severs, Hugo Nociara were strong. The Rucks, Brody Finlay and Jack Bell, and with Jack Keane a few important goals.
That's turned into a really great ruck combination, that hasn't it? Brody Finlay and Jack Bell, and that allows Jack Bell to go forward. And on the weekend, he was huge. He kicked 3 goals, and in the end, that was probably the difference.
And at the start of the season, we probably would have looked at it and go, well, these two are 2 out-and-out rucks rather than sort of forward rucks. But no, Jack Bell has spent a bit more time up forward throughout the course of the season compared to Finlay. It's been really impressive at times.
And they've needed that. The Bloods, they needed that sort of big target they can just get out of jail and kick it long to. Another last gasp thriller. What a weekend of footy it was. St Kevin's and Uni Blacks at TH King. This one went all the way to the final siren as well. It was a low-scoring struggle from the outset. High pressure from both teams. Meaningful possession chains were a struggle in both directions. First goal took 19 minutes, and the second goal took another 8 after that. It was a really low-scoring game. And they were the only 2 goals of the opening term, and both went the way of Blacks. They then had more of the same in the second term. First goal took another 14 minutes after that, after a skill error on the wing and a handball chain that released Matty Grocott into an open goal for his second, and it was Blacks by 16 points. St Kevin's then managed to get going a little bit. Archie Dolman, a brilliant snap from the pocket, 22 minutes in. And then Ollie Gill kicked a goal. That was pretty great as well. And then Jack Darmody bent one through a brilliant check side from the pocket. And somehow Scobber just turned on the tap and hit the front and led at half-time by a single point. Kick efficiency remained low in the second half. It was a really, really tough game. Out of nowhere, though, after this grind for sort of 2.5 quarters, the contest changed gears. Joel Ernest gave the Blacks a handy 10-point lead 18 minutes into the third, and then Scott found their mojo. They kicked 4 in 10 minutes just out of nowhere. I don't know how this happened, but suddenly the game just started to open up. Debutant Will Cooper kicked a couple. They got 14 points clear. They then threatened to sort of crack the game open, but then Jack Drummond kicked a goal late in the third term and got him back to 8 points. Kane Loftus kicked a goal early in the last to make it 2 points. And then the last 23 minutes of the game, goalless. So for the last 23 minutes, there was within side a kick either way. St Kevin's couldn't find the winner. Blacks couldn't find the one that got them over the line. St Kevin's had a couple of opportunities. They were going to have a set shot. The free kick was reversed after a bit of afters. Went down the other end.
I bet Anthony Lynch would have taken that well.
Jed Saunders had a shot and he missed. They just couldn't quite put it away from the kick in from Jed Saunders. Blacks went bang, bang, got it to centre half back. And it's like, hang on, they might be on here to go coast to coast, siren sound. So in the end, Scob managed to hang on. Their second nerve-jangling 3-point win in 3 weeks. So again, the benefit of just being able to find a way in the close ones. It was a wonderful ruck battle. We knew it would be coming in. It was Billy Coates versus Sam Conway, 2 of the dominant rucks of the competition. Billy finished as the highest ranked player on the ground. 21 touches, 38 hit-outs, 6 clearances. Sam Conway was best of field for Blacks. He had 43 hit-outs of his own. So both the ruckmen did a great job. The victory keeps St Kevin's hopes alive for a top 2 finish. They're 1 game behind Zabs with 4 to play. They'll meet Zabs in round 16. So that gives them a chance to potentially leapfrog over Zabs and into second spot if they can keep winning. And the Blacks have Zabs this coming week as they fight to kick clear of the drop zone. As well as the Blacks have been going, they're still in the mix to slide as well if things go badly for them. They'll face the 2 teams immediately below them in the final 3 weeks as well, which is always a little dangerous to have those banana peel games. Old Trinity in round 16, Old Haileybury in the final round. Could be a very nervy relegation round robin that's happening in the next few weeks.
Yeah, and I think that's where the excitement in the final month of the season is going to lay in that race to the bottom. It's some massive 8-point games coming up, starting this weekend, of course.
Yeah, it feels like that top 4 is going to be a fantastic contest come September, but right now all 4 teams are almost settled in there. It's just going to be a question of in what order. The top 2 obviously is going to matter. From a St Kevin's perspective, they get out of jail again. What did Plugger Lynch have to say about the performance?
Well, first and foremost, happy to get the win, back the 4 points. You'll always take that regardless of the how, but a long way away from their best. They've got a lot to work on that they need to tidy up over the next month, and the good thing is that they've got a month's worth of dress rehearsals to get all of that right. The Uni Blacks players, he paid credit to, particularly their experienced players. They were to impact the game in a positive standpoint, which made it a real challenge for St Kevin's, and also gave a shout out to Will Cooper, who you mentioned kicked a couple of goals. And St Kevin's have quietly found a few this season. Will Cooper, Doug Kerr, Will Mazzio at the start of the season. They've been able to blood a few, and they've all come in and had a bit of an impact.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's one of the benefits having a healthy under-19 program, isn't it? We've seen the Tunners the same, you know, teams that are up there year after year, developing that pipeline and having that feeder of players coming through that are ready to step in and have an impact. From a Blacks perspective, how was Dale Bauer after the game?
He said it just came down to opportunities. Scob took them, they didn't, and they did better from Scob's point of view. It was an arm wrestle all day. He was happy with the way his side played the game. He said they're continuing to work on executing on their attack off the back of strong defence is something we've touched on this show a lot throughout the year. And he just said we're certainly improving a lot of areas of our footy.
Yeah, the Blacks sort of feel like they might be the best of the rest. You know, they're a bit further down the pecking order on the ladder, but their best is, I guess you could throw Old Scotch into that mix as well. But, yeah, they're the sort of team you don't want to face on any given day, the Blacks, because if they bring their best, they're going to challenge anyone in the competition.
Yeah, outside that top four, they've probably got one of the highest ceilings of the rest. And certainly if they reach that, they'll cause anyone in the competition problems.
Old Brighton all but confirmed their final spot with a gripping away win over Old Zaverians at Toorak Park. Zabs possessed significantly more of the footy in the opening term. Matty, you were there for this game. They had about 30-odd more touches, but just undid their good work, just kept turning the footy over, and the Tunners kicked 4 goals from turnover in the first term to lead by 14 points at the first change.
Yeah, no, it was a really interesting opening term. As you said, Old Zaverians had a lot of opportunities to sort of go inside, but Old Brighton just kept hitting him on the counter-attack, and when they do that, they find plenty of space inside 50. And Harry Hill on return, just casually coming back and kicking a couple of goals in the opening quarter just to set the tone. The culmination of Jonah Campeely and Charlie Richardson, that forward line, those two tall towers. Oh, yeah.
Mobile, good marks above head, still in the game at ground level, can kick goals literally from anywhere.
Yeah, and kept out of each other's way as well. They weren't getting in the way of each other, so the chemistry was really strong between the two of them, and that set the tone. They were really outstanding from that opening quarter.
We've said this year, Brayden, a couple of times, they need to unlock the chemistry of what that forward line looks like. Obviously, Will Lewis was such a huge part of it last year, and he's gone on to great success at VFL and then AFL level this year. But to now have Campeely and Richardson as a couple of pillars up forward that they can go to, it suddenly straightens the Tunners up.
Yeah, exactly right. And I guess with Jonah, who's probably been in and out of the side with his VFL commitments. And I think he's got a great opportunity here to grab this upcoming final series by the scruff of the neck and show why he should be playing state league footy more permanently. And Charlie Richardson's a talent as well. I think he's only 19.
Incredible talent.
He is like his
the son of the grandson of the great Kevin Bartlett.
Yeah. He's just done some things that I've seen, and you just think, wow, you can't teach that. He's got potential to go play, and Old Brighton really pushed that sort of stuff to go play state league footy.
And I think in a real testament to Marcel Bruin's coaching, he's actually taught Charlie Richardson how to hand pass over the course of the season.
He's gone against genetics.
At the start of the season,
DNA.
Richardson flat out refused to hand pass. I would see him weave out of trouble just to kick it backwards rather than give
that's the KB effect. He can't help it, mate. It's in his blood.
He's coached it out of him, Marcel. He's done an enormous job.
KB would be filthy too he'd be yelling out over the fence because he's there every week. He goes and supports his grandsons every week, KB. He's got one who's playing VFL footy as well down at Sandringham, and Charlie, and he's there. His weekends are pretty much filled up with going to watch his grandsons play footy, which is wonderful. Charlie not kicked the first goal of the quarter to get Zabs back within 8 points in that second term, and then it was Charlie Richardson. Stepped up, kicked back-to-back goals. They got out to 21 points. The scoring from there, Matty, was all Zabs for the rest of the term, but they just couldn't hit the scoreboard, couldn't find the middle of the goals, rather. A series of behinds. Charlie McIsaac then had the final say. He did kick a goal to get them back within 5 points at the major break. But Old Brighton, again, that turnover game got going in the third quarter, and they levelled things up on the inside and then punished the Zabs around the ground. Yeah, no, it was a fascinating battle at both ends of the ground. You mentioned the missed opportunities, particularly from the Zabs. And Charlie McIsaac, I think he had about 8 shots for the course of the day. He kicked 3-3 and another 2 went out on the full. So he could have had an almighty day in front of goal. But yeah, they just weren't efficient with their opportunities. They missed a couple of critical ones. They threatened to come back again in the third term and reclaim the lead. But again, it was a good response. And every time Old Brighton were challenged in this match, they just found a way to string a couple of goals together and just re-establish that buffer. Yeah, it was 21 points at three-quarter time. Zabs then kicked a couple of goals in a hurry. Got it back to 9 points at the 5-minute mark of the last term. Charlie McIsaac kicked another one, got an incredible bounce in the goal square, just landed in his lap. They got it back to 4 points at the 9-minute mark. And at that stage, you are thinking, oh, here comes Zabs. They're going to come rolling over the top. They've timed their run just right. But it just didn't quite happen. And Brighton didn't panic. They just maintained their heads and sort of kept control of the game. There was only a goal in at 24 minutes. It was 10 points of difference, rather, at the 24-minute mark of the last term. And then Michael Carianis got that 50, which proved to be the sealer, and the Tunners punched their ticket to another September campaign.
Yeah, look, a really mature performance, because that first 10 minutes of the final term was all Zab. I think it was only one time Old Brighton went inside 50 at that stage, which for a top four side is pretty unbelievable. But they held their nerve, and they got their opportunities, as limited as they were, and they made the most of them. And there was a bit of good play, and the 50-metre penalty to Karianis, as you mentioned, pretty much sealed the game. But a really professional performance in terms of their ability, but their mental resilience from Old Brighton. They ticked a lot of boxes.
So they're back within 2 games of Zabs with 4 to play. Harry Hill back from the Tullamarine flu. He was the Skins player of the game. 26 disposals, 17 contested, 10 clearances, 3 goals. And how good was Sam Linder? 38 touches, 6 clearances, 10 rebound 50s, and that magnificent came off the back of the square, just came busting through, took the footy, delivered it forward. I think it was to Campilli against the fence, who then kicked the goal. Yeah. It was one of those moments when Brighton needed a response, and up he stepped.
Well, that was the play today, because Linder bursting off the back of the square, beautiful pinpoint pass to Campilli, who from where the 50 metres to the boundary line slotted it up against the fence. So great bit of play, great goal. That was the play of the day.
And so as we were talking about, they've unlocked their forward line. It was their highest score since round 6, and they've done it by sharing the load. Charlie Richardson, Joey Campilli, Harry Hill all kicked 3 goals each. Ben Pry chipped in with a couple, and that feels like it might be the blueprint from here on in for Brighton. Spread the load around, have multiple scoring options, multiple avenues to goal, and they can cobble together winning scores by committee. And then they also held Zabs to under 100 points for the 7th time in 8 matches. Brayden. I mean, when you think that they kicked the ton 4 weeks in a row from rounds 3 to 6, they were putting teams to the sword. Angus Cork did the job on Charlie McIsaac and was one of the best players. In fact, I think Marcel Bruin had him as his best player on the ground. Charlie McIsaac still managed to kick 3, and as you mentioned, still got plenty of shots away. But McIsaac's kicked now just 8 goals in his last 5 games, compared to 27 in the 5 before that.
Yeah, and we mentioned this on the coverage as well, that McIsaac did have a lot of shots, but it was actually a really great battle between he and Angus Cork. And you probably would have argued at the time that Cork took the honours despite the number of opportunities that McIsaac had. It was a really good performance from the Tunners defence.
So next up, another top 4 blockbuster for the Tunners. They'll step up to host the league-leading Blues at Brighton Beach. That's our SEN match of the day. What a game that's going to be. Zabs, who have now lost 2 of their last 3, face a tricky visit to the Blacks, as we've talked about how dangerous they can be on any given day. And the Blacks now in a fight for survival. So that could be a tricky game. And those 2 matches loom as critical in the top 2 race. If the Tunners can find a way to get over the Blues and snap their streak, and the Zabs happen to fall to Blacks, there'd just be 1 game between these 2 teams, Brighton and Zabs, and a theoretically more favourable run home for Brighton. Brighton have got the Blues, Haileybury, St Bernard's, Caulfield. So once they get past the Blues this week, 3 teams who aren't going to be playing finals footy. Zabs have got Blacks, St Kevin's, Old Haileybury, Old Scotch. So Zabs a much tougher run. So who knows? Maybe that top 2 race isn't over yet.
Well, we say the top 4 races, and it'll be between those 4 teams, but exactly where they all will finish, who gets the double chance, who doesn't, that's still up in the air. And it's going to be an exciting month figuring out who finishes where.
Final game of the round was the only blowout of the weekend. Uni Blues continued their white-hot form and pretty much ended Old Scotch's September hopes of at Melbourne University. The Blues were just so very, very good. James Stewart continued his brilliant form. He kicked another 6 goals after 11 last week to give him a leading 63 for the season. It was a dominant second half from the Blues. 19 scores to 4 on their way to a 67-point win. Could have actually probably been triple figures if their finishing had been a bit sharper. The Blues now lead Zabs by a game plus 16% in the race for top spots, almost 2 games really. But they still have 2 more September contenders to face in the closing weeks. They've got Old Brighton this week, St Bernard's, Caulfield, St Kevin's. So even that race for top spot, as much as the Blues seem to have one hand on the minor premiership right now, there's still a couple of banana peels there on the way home. It's not going to be an easy run.
Yeah, but I think they'll be full of confidence. I think they've won complete trust now with their performances. Like they've beaten the teams around them. I think I've said all year, they've got to beat these other sides. They can't just beat up on the others and then get by. They've got to do it in statement performances. We touched on Old Scotch last week and we thought, this is shaping up to be a blockbuster. And the Blues said, nah, we're just on a whole other level at the moment. And look, a lot does rely on fitness, but James Stewart, he might be the most important man in a premiership race right now between those top 4 sides. Grimley's been there. He's probably doing the dirty work that we don't notice unless we're sitting there watching, analysing.
Different roles, I think, now. But again, I think in the first quarter told a great story because their strike power for the Blues was on display. James Stewart kicked 2 goals. Sam Grimley kicked 2 goals. Ben Towson kicked 2 goals. So between those 3, they kicked 2 goals apiece, and then up Bob James Curran as well to kick a goal, and they were 31 points up a quarter time. That is their strength.
Yeah. their star power is what we've sort of talked about all season. That's where they're going to win games, and it's about beating the teams around you, as you say, but also then cashing in against the teams lower on the ladder, and they've done that. And I think that's where you earn that trust. But getting those three on the board early like that, that's
hard to stop.
Yeah.
Anyone prepared to put a line through the Cardinals? They are now. Last year they were 3 games plus percentage out with 3 to play. Now they're 3 games plus percentage out with 4 to play. So not impossible. Can Lightning strike twice? They will start as favourites in the next 3 matches. Old Trinity, Caulfield, Uni Blacks. They'll finish with Old Zabs in the final round. So not only will they probably have to win out from here, Brayden, they'd also need Old Brighton to probably implode in the final round and lose to 3 of the bottom 5 teams.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think they're done. The top 4 is set. Had a great chat with Natty last week, just in the lead up to the Blues game. But I think, as you touched on, 30% to make up as well. That is a lot. That would need some serious dumpings both ways.
Yeah, well, I mean, it'll go down if Old Brighton do implode and drop some of those matches naturally, of course. But yeah, it does feel like we're asking a bit too much for that to happen this time around.
So the league ladder, after 14 rounds of football and a month of footy to go, it is Uni Blues out in front by 1 game. They're on 12 wins, 48 points. 1 game clear of Zabs in second on 44. Another game back to St Kevin's in third on 40. And another game back to Old Brighton on 36. That's your top 4. Then it's a 3-game gap to Old Scotch now on 24. Half a game to Caulfield on 22. Another half to Blacks in 7th and Haileybury in 8th on 20. Another half a game to Old Trinity on 18. And then St Bernard's on the bottom on 8 points. So between Old Scotch and Trinity, so that's from positions 5 to 9, just 1.5 games.
Yeah, no, it's quite remarkable that we think that Old Scotch are not actually
not
safe from
not
the
safe.
Not
They're
safe. Yeah,
fifth.
they've been in such good form up until last week, but no, they did have a very slow start to the season, which is why they're still not entirely safe. But no, there's still a few teams that have got a bit of work to do if they want to stay in Premier Men's next year.
Yeah, well, I remember a few weeks ago I said you might need 7 wins for guaranteed safety, and I got a strange look off you two gentlemen. It's looking that way almost with how that ladder's shaping up. It's very, very tight. Like Scotch have won 6, and we're saying they could be in trouble.
It could be. I mean, St Bernard sit on 2 wins at the moment, so they're the ones that are in obvious trouble. But as we've just said, if teams above them, like Haileybury, don't win another game, for example, and Haileybury got a really tough run, it's still possible. So there's hope there for the Snow Dogs still. There's certainly hope for Old Trinity. They're very much still in the mix. And there's still danger lurking for Scotch, Caulfield, Blacks and Haileybury in the weeks to come. That is Premier Men's from every angle. After the break, well, it just gets even crazier. We're going to talk Premier B Men's. We've got a special guest from AJAX coming up next on For the Love of the Game.
Footy finals are almost here, and there's no better way to kick them off than at the 2026 William Buck VAFA Finals Luncheon. Join MC Nat Edwards, AFL legends and Brownlow medalists James Hurd and Jimmy Bartel, plus Jason Bennett and the VAFA media team for a live For the Love of the Game finals preview. Friday, September 4th at the RACV City Club. Enjoy a premium 2-course lunch, beverage package and an unforgettable afternoon of football stories and finals insights. Book your tickets now at vafa.com.au. Don't miss out on one of the biggest events on the VAFA calendar.
This is For the Love of the Game. Time to talk Premier B Men's with our expert, the man who knows everything. Is that what you were saying off air?
Yeah,
right?
well,
Matthew Donald?
something like that.
Something like that. Hey, another crazy weekend. We had a draw in William Buck Premier Men's. We had a draw in Premier B Men's. We'll get to that one shortly. Where do you want to start?
Oh, I think I want to start in the match between AJAX and Old Geelong. What a terrific game this was, and it's a good endorsement for good kicking in front of goal, this one. I mean, Old Geelong kept its finals aspirations alive with a hard-fought 10-point win over the Jackers. This game was such a close one. The margin never exceeded 14 points at any stage throughout the entire match. But the OGs, despite having 5 fewer scores, they did manage to come away with a 10-point win, 13-3. 81. If only Hugo was here, Brayden, he'd like that scoreline. 10-11-71. So a disappointing result there for AJAX in the end. Tom Gorell, James Green each kicking 3 goals for the OGs. Toby Lipton and Nick Pike each kicking 3 for the Jackers. So the results were shared around. But AJAX slipped outside the top 4 for the first time this season. So a bit of a disappointing weekend for them, but take nothing away from what up until this stage has been an outstanding campaign in Prem B.
Absolutely. And joining us on the line from AJAX is their young gun, our VAFA Rising Star nominee from earlier in the season. I think it was about round 6. JETHRO GUNN, the young gun. Welcome, JETHRO.
Oh, g'day, boys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on, mate. What have you made of the season so far? Let's talk firstly from a team perspective, then we'll talk about you individually.
Yeah, well, when you coming up from B grade, it was definitely going to be tough playing some stronger competition. But the boys have adapted really well. We've been training hard, and I think playing at a higher level has been really great for everyone. We've been loving it.
You had a great start to the season when you look back. You won 5 of your first 8 games. So straight away, it was sort of like a win-loss thing. But very early on, as you said, coming up from Premier B, you're not exactly sure how big the jump is to come up from C to B. But you proved to yourselves and to others that you're competitive and could win games from early on. Did that give you guys a lot of confidence early?
Yeah, definitely. I think we surprised ourselves at the start. We sort of had no expectations going into the season. And then, once we got a few wins on the board, sort of the confidence grew in the group, which was really, really great. And then we've been able to carry that throughout the year, but just fortunately a bit of a rough patch at the moment with a few boys going away and stuff has made it a bit difficult to stay on that form. But yeah, we're looking to bounce back this week, hopefully.
JETHRO, you mentioned the sort of spirit of some of the challenges that the team have faced. I do remember way back at the start of the season, even actually before the season started, you didn't even have access to your own training ground up until very late in the pre-season. And given that challenge and some of the unavailability of players, yet the fact that despite all that, you've managed to play really well throughout the course of what's been a pretty long season, must say a bit about the spirit of the playing group.
Oh, for sure. I think, like you said, we lose access to our main training ground for quite a bit of the pre-season, and I think it's just a testament to all the boys just wanting to work hard and sort of work towards sort of the goal of playing well in Prem B, and I think that's really showed in some of our performances. Just been really great. Yeah.
Yourself as a player, mate, just going through your stats, you must go home with leather poisoning every week. You're averaging 28.5 disposals, but I'm interested by your own game. You're the team's leading contested ball winner, but you also have the capability of doing some damage on the outside. Can you talk us through the sort of role that Lockie's given you?
Yeah, so it was obviously first full year playing senior footy, so started off like not playing too much in the midfield, playing a bit up forward a bit more, but then as the season's gone on, adapting more to the bigger bodies, I've been able to roll into the mid quite a bit more. And then, Buzz has been great. He's backed me into play against some of these bigger, stronger bodies, and he's allowed me to play to my strengths, which has been unreal. So, I just sort of back and play my own instincts, and try and help the team win as much as I can.
So you've come through the juniors program at the Jackers. JETHRO played 100 games there for the Jackers juniors, and then at Caulfield Grammar as well, a bit of Sandringham Dragons, your first year of senior footy, as you mentioned. Where are you at on your growth curve? Like, where are the next layers that you're looking to add to your game?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So coming through AJAX juniors was incredible, and then obviously got the opportunity to play at Caulfield Grammar, which was also really, really great. But for me, I've just missed a lot of footy in the last few years, so more so just playing as many games as I can, getting continuity with my footy, and sort of just playing to my strengths. But I think the development point for me would probably still be my outside ball and just my ball use. But I'm just happy to be playing footy as much as I can now. So
So sitting 5th at the moment on 28 points, one game now behind De La Salle, Old Melbournians and Old Camberwell in an incredibly tight Premier B season. A blockbuster this weekend. It's a replay or a rematch of last year's Premier C Grand Final against Beaumaris. You're 5th, they're 6th. What a massive game. Must be looking forward to it. What are you expecting from Bowie?
Yeah, it's a huge game. Definitely for us coming off a bit of a rough patch. You can expect Bowie to be, as they normally are, very tough, contested team, good ball use. I think that's sort of expected though every game this year we play. Everyone in B grade is a really strong side, so it should be no different this week against Beaumaris. We have to come in with our plan and then hopefully execute that and sort of cement our spot on the way to the finals. But we'll just have to play and see how we go. But
And finals basically this week, Matty, start for AJAX this week. They've got Bowie below them and then the 3 teams to finish all above them. Old Camberwell, De La Salle, Collegians to finish in the run to September. The upside of that is you're trying to take spots from the teams above you. You get a chance to play them. You get a chance to knock them off.
Yeah, it's all in your own hands, your destiny, as it were. Is finals something that's coming on into your mind yet, JETHRO? I know it's a very even competition, but have you dared to dream yet?
To be honest, not too much. We try to just stay week by week pretty present at the moment. I think especially now, after losing the last few games, we've really just tried to focus on winning the game that's in front of us. Looking forward, it'd be great to be playing finals, and at the start of the year, that's what you aim for. But yeah, I haven't really thought about it too much yet.
Yeah, good answer.
Yeah.
First year of senior footy, already got the cliches sorted
week
out.
at a time.
Batted that one away without a problem. Hey, Jethro, thanks so much for your time, mate. Your season has been absolutely phenomenal. You're a favourite. I know Senshi in our socials department loves checking out your numbers every week. Congratulations on the season you've had so far. Best of luck for the road ahead, and thanks for your time and for the love of the game.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it.
And that AJAX Bowie game, what a game it's going to be. You're going to see it live and free on VAFA TV. You'll see every Premier B men's game live and free on VAFA TV this weekend from 1:55. You can set up the mega wall. It is our Premier B showcase round. Thanks to My Sport Live, who are generously supporting this initiative, Matty, which is all about showcasing one of the great competitions in Victorian footy.
And it's about time it gets put in the spotlight, Jace, because it's been such an outstanding competition all season. And as we approach the final month of the campaign, lots of really important games this weekend. So what a time to have it.
You're going to be busy. You're going to be calling a game of Premier Men's, and you're going to be having the mega wall in front of you at the same time, watching all 5 games of Premier B. It's going to be fantastic. Hey, where do you want to start? Because we talked about the draw in William Buck Premier Men's. Well, we also had a draw in Premier B Men's this weekend.
I think that's the place to start at Chelmsford Park. Old Ivanhoe and Beaumaris sharing the points. The third draw of the season. Remarkably, it's been the same 3 teams that have been involved in all 3 draws. Old Geelong, who we just touched on, Old Ivanhoe and Beaumaris, who were the 2 teams that played this one out at the weekend. A remarkable game, this one. The final score, 13-14-92 to 14-8-92. The Hoers got out to a 27-point lead early in the second term, but then the Sharks slowly chipped away at the deficit. They actually had a 10-point lead heading into the final term, but then the Hoers responded again and clawed their way back into the contest and eventually tied it up. It means that the Hoers move up to 9th spot now. They're a game away from safety. The Sharks remain in 6th place, 2 wins outside the top 4.
OMs and De La Salle, one of those games we talked about last week coming into the weekend where you're genuinely like, hey, both these teams on their day can be as good as anyone in the competition. No idea what to expect. How did it play out?
Yeah, well, this was a real statement from Old Melburnians against a De La Salle team that have been pretty much consistent throughout the top 4 all season. The OM was won by 38 points at Elstonwick Park, 16-15, 111 to 11-7, 73. They took a 23-point lead at quarter time. It was a fast start that got them going, and they never really looked headed from there. Hugo Dale for the OMs, he led the way with 4 goals. The OMs move up to 3rd on the ladder now, level on points with De La Salle and just 2% separating the 2 sides. James Byrne, the OMs coach, for what it's worth, he described it as their best performance of the year. And that comes off the back of probably their best quarter of the year in that great comeback against Old Geelong the weekend prior. So the last 5 quarters, the OMs have been very impressive indeed.
Well, there's one given so far this year in Premier B Men's. Brayden, what's that? Aside from, there's 2. Matty gets his tips wrong, and what's the other one?
Collegians won a game of football, would you believe?
Just kept on rolling.
They did, yeah. They're as consistent as my tipping is inconsistent. 14 on the bounce. They accounted for Old Kerry by 57 points at Harry Trott Oval. This was a big day for the Lions in particular. It was the 20th anniversary of their 2006 B-grade premiership, so they had a premiership reunion at Harry Trott Oval on the day, and the Lions saluted. They opened up a 74-point lead at halftime. It was looking like it was going to be a very big win indeed. They maintained all afternoon. The Panthers drew it back a little bit in the end, but 20 goals, 12, 132 to 11, 10, 76, the final score. It means that Old Kerry, they still sit in 8th spot. They're just 1 win above the 2 teams in the relegation zone, and Collegians, they just maintain their stranglehold on top spot.
Speaking of the teams in the relegation zone, Willie CYMS had a great win last week over AJAX, trying to build some momentum. They hosted Old Camberwell at Fear on Reserve on the weekend. How'd they go? Well,
at 3/4 time, it looked like the CYs were going to make it back-to-back wins. They held a 14-point advantage at 3/4 time, but the Wellers, it was a sterling comeback from them in the final term. They won by 17 points. They'd kicked just 6 goals to 3/4 time. They piled on 6 in the last quarter alone. 12-9, 81 to 9-10, 64. Terrific comeback from Neil Connell's men. Liam Thomas, he's been quietly just a very good goal kicker for the Wellers this season. Another 4 goals for him. And Mai Patel, who we've talked about a lot, he kicked 3. For Old Camberwell, they move into the top 4 now, and the CYs, they've dropped back to 10th spot, but they're still only 1 win away from climbing outside that relegation zone.
Yeah, it's just so even. Let's talk about the ladder now before we talk about Prem B Showcase round a little bit more. Obviously, Collegians sit out in front. They are 14 and zip, but then after that, it's a logjam.
Well, after that, it is a three-way tie for second spot. So Collegians 14 and zip, 3 teams on 8 wins. De La Salle, Old Melburnians and Old Camberwell, they round out your top 4. AJAX slip outside the top 4 for the first time all season. They're only 1 win behind those 3 with an even 7-7 record. Sitting 1 game behind them are both Beaumaris and Old Geelong, who have 5 wins and 2 draws to their name each. A game behind them, Old Carey, and then a game behind them, Old Ivanhoe and Williamstown CYMS on 16 points each.
And some critical games coming up this weekend. We're going to get your tips a little bit later in the show, but just at first glance, you look at, I mean, every week Premier B delivers, of course, but you've got Old Camberwell and Collegians at the top end of the table, a massive game, particularly for Old Camberwell. Collegians are sitting pretty, would just be happy to keep the momentum rolling. You've got AJAX and Bowie, as we've just spoken about with Jethro, 5th versus 6th, and then you've got Old Geelong and Old Ivanhoe, 7th versus 9th. They're the 3 real standout games for the weekend ahead.
Yeah, so it's Old Camberwell's turn to test its premiership credentials against Collegians, and at home too, so they might fancy themselves off the back of a very good win. The Premier C grand final rematch, it was AJAX who won by 2 points earlier in the season, so you can bet that'll be a close game again. And then Old Geelong and Old Ivanhoe were 2 teams who played had a draw earlier in the season, and they meet again. So, I mean, it wouldn't back against the 4th draw of the campaign the way that these 2 teams are going. But there's a lot of really important games. And I think the other thing with that Jackers-Beaumaris game, that's almost going to determine, well, for Beaumaris, it'll almost determine whether they're a chance for finals or not.
Yeah.
Lose that game when it's just about over for them, but win it, and they're right in the mix again.
And then D-La and Willie and Old Carey and OM's the other 2 games. All 5 of those Premier B men's games live and free on VAFA TV from 1:55 this Saturday as part of Premier B Showcase Round. That's Premier B done. Next, we'll talk Premier C men's on For the Love of the Game. Looking for VAFA updates on the go? Download the brand new VAFA app today. Get live scores, fixtures, ladders, and all the latest VAFA news right at your fingertips. Whether you're a player, supporter, or just love local footy, the VAFA app keeps you in the game. Search VAFA in your app store and download it now. For the Love of the Game continues. We move on to Prem C men's, and Hampton Rovers had a great win over Mazenod, 14 points, 8-12-60 to 6-10-46. Our round 14 results. Big win for Pegs and a much needed one for them as well. 17-16, 118 defeated Glenora Old McKinnon, 11-7, 73. Good road win for Pegs by 45 points. Massive win for Parkdale Vultures. They are starting to ramp up come September. We've spoken to some of their players in recent weeks. They've had a couple of very disappointing Septembers, and it just feels like the Vultures are locking in on finals this year. They are 28-15, 183, defeated Marcelin 6-6-42, 141-point win for the Vultures. Big win also for the Tigers, St Bede's Mentone. 17-21-22, defeated Ormond 7-6-48 by 74 points. And the final game of the weekend, Fitzroy keep on keeping on. 20 goals, 9, 129, defeated Old Peninsula 5-12-42. So the league leading Fitzroy are 13-1 on 52 points. They are 1 game clear of Parkdale on 48, 1 game back to Hampton Rovers on 44, and 1 game back to Mazenod on 40. So 1 game separating the top 4 all the way through. And then a game out is St Bede's Mentone, as we keep saying in this division. It is the top 5 really fighting for the top 4 spots. St Bede's at the moment sit 1 game behind but have superior percentage over Mazenod. Then it is a 5-game gap back to Pegs on 16. Marcelin, Glen Ira, and Old McKinnon and Old Peninsula on 12, and Ormond on 8. So Fitzroy, Parkdale, Hampton Rovers, and Mazenod in the 4. St Bede's Mentone Tigers 1 game out. And then from there, it's a battle for relegation.
Moving on to Division 1, and Senchi will let us know how many unbeaten teams there are left in the competition. But the number will have changed from last week. A stunning result at Victoria Park. Q against Preston Bullants. Q winning by 107 points.
That is the result of the year, isn't it?
I reckon it would have to be right up there.
Haven't lost a game all year.
Least. Yep, and then they lose by 3 figures. 22-15, 147 to 5-10-40. Thumping in the end. Q a very good side, but I mean, Preston Bullard certainly wouldn't have expected that sort of scoreline in a game involving them. Parkside getting the job done over St Mary's Salesian just at Pitcher Park, an 11-point win there, 10-5-65 to 7-12-54. The other big win was Monash Blues, who won by 59 points over Old Yarra Cobras, 15-11-101 to 5-12-42. Oakley against Paran, a 45-point win there, 13-6-84 to 4-15-39. And the final result of the weekend, Brunswick, too good for UHS VU, 25-point win for them, 14-14, 98 to 10-13, 73. And as we look at the ladder now, well, it's still a pretty tight top five we've got at the moment. Preston's still way out in front. Their lead's been cut to 3 games, the 14-1 record. Q sitting on 11 wins in second spot at the moment. They're a game clear of Paran, Parkside and Oakley, who all share a 10-5 record at the moment. Then 3 games behind them sits St Mary's Salesian. Half a game behind them at the moment are Brunswick. And then Monash Blues, UHSVU and Old Yarra Cobras round out the rest of the table.
No, very exciting division there, but I think Division 2 takes the cake in the terms of divisional structure. So after round 15, the results were as follows. Canterbury got their season back on track, an 18-17 to 9-13, 67 win over Therry Penola. Powerhouse, a big win over Elstonwick, 21-10, 136 to 10-11-71. In another game impacting the top of the ladder, Melbourne High School Old Boys 15-18, 108 defeated South Melbourne Districts 10-11-71. Meanwhile, Whitefriars were big winners over North Brunswick, 16-10, 106 to 7-12-54. And West Brunswick closed out their weekend with a 17-18, 120 to 4-7-31 win over Aquinas, who bring up the rear on the ladder that we'll now turn to. So, 3-way tie at the top with percentage separating these teams. Canterbury won after 3 straight losses, so they're back at 11-4. They're just followed by Melbourne High School Old Boys and Whitefriars, both on 11-4. There's about 16% between those. Powerhouse, they're in 4th at 10-5. 1 game further back at Elstonwick in 5th. They're probably the biggest surprise so far to see them so far down. West Brunswick have won 7 games. Therry have won 6. And then South Melbourne Districts and North Brunswick are in 8th and 9th with 4 wins, and Aquinas in last with 2 wins.
2 games from Division 3 men's on the weekend, 2 big wins. Hawthorn over Latrobe University. Hawthorn 17-21, 123 defeated Latrobe 6-7-43 by 80 points. And then Wattle Park, they might have kicked the sweep of the weekend. 40 goals, 28, 268 defeated Albert Park 3-1-19. Richmond Central had the bye, so the ladder is Wattle Park well clear of Richmond Central in second. Wattle Park on 52. They are 13 and zip. One of our undefeated teams. We'll hear from Senchi shortly. Richmond Central 8-4. Hawthorn 1 game further back at 7-6. Latrobe on 12 points and Albert Park on 4 points. That is the VAFA men's competition for this week. After the break, we will talk VAFA women's for the love of the game.
Footy finals are almost here, and there's no better way to kick them off than at the 2026 William Buck VAFA Finals Luncheon. Join MC Nat Edwards, AFL legends and Brownlow medalists James Hurd and Jimmy Bartel, plus Jason Bennett and the VAFA media team for a live For the Love of the Game finals preview. Friday, September 4th at the RACV City Club. Enjoy a premium 2-course lunch, beverage package and an unforgettable afternoon of football stories and finals insights. Book your tickets now at vafa.com.au. Don't miss out on one of the biggest events on the VAFA calendar.
This is For the Love of the Game. Time to talk Premier Women's. William Buck Premier Women's results from round 14. It was a tight one at Brunswick Street Oval. And what an upset this would have been. Fitzroy and Westbourne. Westbourne almost getting up for their second win of the season. It was Fitzroy in the end, 2-9-21, defeating Westbourne 2-5-17. Old Brighton, 6-5-41, defeated Q 4-10-34 by 7 points. Great win for Old Geelong, who's starting to really build some momentum here as they've cleared the drop zone and starting to work their way up the ladder a little bit. A 6-point win over West Brunswick, 5-2-32 to 3-8-26. And a big win for Old Scotch, who are really starting to flex in the run to September. 16-12, 108 Old Scotch against their old rivals, St Kevin's, 2 straight goals. So a 96-point win for Old Scotch. Caulfield had the bye. So as we check the ladder, Old Scotch are on top on 44 points. Also, Caulfield Grammarians on the same. It's a percentage at the moment of 19 extra for Old Scotch. They have the lead over Caulfield in second. Old Brighton sit third. Q sit fourth on percentage ahead of Brunswick in fifth. Then it's Fitzroy in sixth. Old Geelong are at seventh. St Kevin's eighth, and Westbourne Grammarians sit ninth as we have a look at Premier B Women's.
Yeah, let's flick across to that now and some of the results this weekend. I want to start with Parkside, who were too good for Glen Iron, Old McKinnon, 5-3-33 to 2-8-20 in that one. Beaumaris with a big win over Old Zaverians, and it could have been even bigger. 9-15-69 to 3, straight 18. Old Yarra Cobras got the job done against Old Melburnians, 5-2-32 to 2-2-14. And then the thriller, the closest match of the round, Williamstown CYMS against Port Melbourne Chargers. And the CY's getting up by 1 point, 5-6-36 to 5-5-35 at Fearon Reserve.
So what does that mean for the ladder?
Well, in terms of the Prem B ladder, Beaumaris still out on top 14 from 14 for them, unbeaten as it is. And then 4 games behind them sit Old Melburnians at the moment with the 9-4 record. A couple of games behind them, Port Melbourne Chargers and Williamstown CYMS, both with a 7-7 record. A game behind them sit both Old Zaverians and Parkside with a 6-8 record. 2 wins behind them, Glen Ira, Old McKinnon, and then Old Yarra Cobras rounding out the ladder.
Well, it's time for some Premier B women's live action on VAFA TV this weekend. Port Melbourne Chargers got a massive last fortnight. They'll play the top 2 teams this weekend. It is the unbeaten Beaumaris, our Premier B women's match of the day, live and free on VAFA TV from 1:55 this Saturday. And joining us to talk Port Melbourne Chargers is one of their leaders, Sunday Stoney. Sunday, welcome. Thanks for your time and welcome to For the Love of the Game.
Of course, anything, guys. I'm so excited.
Thanks for having a chat with us. Second year of the Port Melbourne Chargers program. We were so excited at the VAFA to get the Chargers into the VAFA last year. Had a great building year, and now you've built it again even further in 2026. Tell us a little bit about this sort of 18-month journey now. The club's about 18 months old. What's it been like to be involved from day one?
It's been a journey, but I think everyone's learnt so much about each other and about themselves, and it's just such an amazing club to be a part of. I've never felt more supported, and also I'm such a supporter of women and championing women's rights. So I'm really excited to be a part of a club that really embodies this.
Sunday, thanks for joining us. Just in terms of how this season has gone, sitting third, a 7-7 record. It's a pretty competitive race for the finals. How have you viewed the season so far from a Port Melbourne Chargers perspective?
I think from any outsider looking in, but especially being a part of the Prem B women's competition, it's very equal. I think we go into every match not really knowing what to expect because bottom of the ladder beats top of the ladder, and then Bowie are pretty untouchable, but it's very equal. So I think it's been such a fun season to be a part of because it's really unknown going into every match, which is really exciting as a club.
Well, we touched on the Beaumaris you just did, that they're untouchable. You only lost to them by 3 points earlier in the season, and it was probably some bad goal kicking that let you down. You're in the middle of a block where you play the other top 4 teams before finals, so you could say finals has come early. What are the keys to beating Beaumaris?
As I think Bowie are unbeaten. I think they've won maybe 14 in a row. So I think they're pretty well rounded, especially off their half back line. So it's just shutting down key players in their team and really capitalising on our own strengths, which I'm very biased as a part of the team, but I think if we play our best brand of footy, we can beat anyone. So it's just really shutting down their half-back run off the back of stoppages, which I think is a big challenge, but I think we're up for it.
What are the keys to your team? What do you guys do really well, Sunday? When you beat teams, where do you beat them?
Oh, look, Jace, I'm going to say all over to be really confident in the girls I play with. I think we're really strong through the middle. We've got a lot of good runners through the middle in Niche and Georgia Smith and Chloe Beaumaris, and then our backline's really, sorry, I've got trucks going past me. I've got the backline is really well-rounded. And then obviously we've got G up in the forward line, who's just such a powerhouse. So, yeah, we're really confident in the brand of footy we play. It's just utilising everyone in the team and just playing our best brand.
Yeah, it might just come down to taking your chances on Saturday. We can't wait to see this one live and free on VAFA TV from 1:55 on Saturday. Port Melbourne Chargers taking on Beaumaris. Critical Premier B women's game. Sunday, thanks so much for your time. Best of luck.
Pleasure, guys. Thanks for having me. Go Chargers.
Really looking forward to that game this weekend. Should be fantastic. Port and Bowie. Let's talk women's divisional football now, and we'll go through our results from round 14 of Division 1 women's. Powerhouse 8-7-55 defeated Old Carey 2-5-17. A good win there, 38 points for Powerhouse. Monash Blues over Oakley 10-3-63 defeated Oakley 5-2-32 by 31 points. Ormond over Whitefriars, 8-1-49, defeated the Friars 4-8-32 by 17 points. And a big win for Marcelin, 6-14-50 over Latrobe University, 3 behinds. So we take a quick look at the ladder. Ormond and Marcelin sit top of the table. They are level on 44 points. One game back in third is Powerhouse on 40. And then a game and a half to Monash on 34. They've got a 10-point lead over Whitefriars. So right now the top four looking pretty good. In fact, it is settled when you think there's only a few rounds to go. You would think Whitefriars on 24, something special would have to happen. Old Kerry 20, Oakley on 10, and Latrobe sitting on 8 points.
And Division 2 women's, we'll start with the ladder leaders, Richmond Central, who are too good for St Mary's Salesian at the weekend, 6-6-42 to 2-3-15. MCCFC over Beaumaris, a 20-point win for them, 8-5-53 to 4-9-33. De La Salle, too strong for Hampton Rovers, 5-7-37 to 2-4-16. Then Old Camberwell getting the win against UHSVU by 22 points, 5-4-34 to 1-6-12.
This has been such a tight comp, Division 2 women's and Division 2 men's. There's one round remaining. What's the ladder?
So as things stand, we've got one win separating first and fourth. So any one of those four teams can end up anywhere else still. Richmond Central and De La Salle out in front.
Apologies, 2 rounds remaining. As everyone in Division 2 women's just went, what?
Yeah.
2 rounds remaining in Division 2 women's, not one. My apologies.
That's all right. So with a fortnight to go, Richmond Central and De La Salle with a 10-4 record at this stage. One win behind them sit St Mary's Salesian and Old Campbell. So that was a really important win for Richmond against St Mary's Salesian at the weekend. One win behind them and with a very good percentage, it's worth mentioning as well. Beaumaris, they've got the best percentage in the competition. So if any of the top four slip up, Beaumaris, a massive opportunity for them to take advantage of that. Then there's a 3-game gap. So these 3 teams all out of the running for the finals now. MCC, FC and UHSVU both with 5 wins to their name, and Hampton Rovers with 3 wins to their name round out the Div 2 ladder.
Let's talk Division 3 women's, Brayden.
Yeah, lots happening here. Wild weekend. Perran Collegians, the 2 Blue Lions with an upset. A 6-6 to 2-3-15 win over Parkdale Vultures, and we'll get to what it means in a minute. Old Haileybury, a 6-9-45 to 5-3-33 win over Hawthorn, and then Caulfield Grammarians, their third side, 6-7-43, got the better of Old Yarra Cobras too, who were held scoreless. Now for the ladder. You thought that was exciting, Matty. I'm going to one-up you. Again, much like the tipping that we'll get to later. But anyway, Parkdale Vultures, Hawthorn and Old Haileybury are all locked on 44 points right now with 2 games to play. The Vultures lead the way with a whopping percentage of 360, but Perran's 3 games further back, but I would be very nervous if I had to play them based on the weekend's result.
Yeah, so the top 3 are set. It's now going to be a question of who finishes in those top 2 spots, which is all important. Caulfield, who sit 5th, are 5 games behind Perran Collegian, so they can't make it. So we've got a top 4 and a bottom 2 now in Division 3. So the real interest in Div 3 women's is who finishes in those top 2 spots, which obviously come finals time is so important. As we take a look at Division 4 women's from the weekend, again, 2 rounds still to play in Div 4 women's. It was Mazenod 7-15-57 defeating North Brunswick 1-8 by 49 points. Brunswick over Albert Park 6-6-42 to Albert Park 2-3-15 by 27. Old Zavarians over Wattle Park 7-6-48 to 4-9-33 by 15 points. Aquinas too good for Canterbury 10-5-65 to 3-9-27 by 38 points. And the Muggers 3-6-24 over Fitzroy, 5 behinds by 19 points. So the ladder in Division 4 women's with 2 rounds to play. Mazenod sit top of the table. They are on 40 points. They are a game clear of the next 3 teams. Aquinas on 36, Old Zabs on 36, Wattle Park on 36. And again, it looks like the top 4 in this division is now set because it's a 2-game gap plus percentage back to Canterbury on 28 and the Muggers on 28. Brunswick are on 26, Albert Park 22, and the bottom 2 teams, Fitzroy 16, North Brunswick also on 16 points.
And then Div 5, rounding things out from a women's perspective, some interesting results of the weekend and some that have had ramifications on what the top 4 currently looks like. And the most critical of all, Preston Bull Ants just holding off Ormond by 6 points, 2-10-22 to 2-4-16. And that one, the Bull Ants just holding on. St Kevin's too good for Elstonwick, an 11-point win at Rigetti Oval, 4-4-28 to 2-5-17. Then a couple of big results outside of that. South Melbourne over Monash Blues. South Melbourne winning 4-10-34 to just the 3 behinds. Glen Ira Old McKinnon over De La Salle, 4-8-32 to 1-6. Then the biggest win of all this weekend, West Brunswick 11-8-74, defeating Parkside 1 behind. So a 73-point win there for the Magpies. And the ladder with a fortnight to go. Preston Bullhound still out in front by a game and a half, 11 wins and 3 defeats. St Kevin's with 9.5 wins to their name. They've got a game and a half gap on the chasing pack. West Brunswick and Elstonwick both with 8 wins.
What a pack. 5 teams in this chasing pack.
Yes. West Brunswick, Elstonwick, 8 wins to their name. And then Ormond and South Melbourne each sitting a game behind them. And half a game behind them, you can't rule out Parkside despite sitting in 7th position. They're a game and a half outside the top 4.
Good percentage too.
With a very good percentage indeed. Mathematically speaking, they are still well and truly alive, Parkside. And then the 3 teams that round out the ladder, their finals hopes are dashed. Glen Ira, Old McKinnon, 3 wins to their name. Monash Blues with 2, De La Salle with 1.
That's a healthy comp, and you've got 7 teams still in the finals mix with 2 rounds to go. Best of luck to everyone playing Division 5 Women's this weekend. That is our VAFA Women's competition wrapped up for another week. We look ahead. We'll cover it off again next week on For the Love of the Game. Next up, we're going to talk Holmesglen Under-19 Premier. A special guest, Andy OTTEN, joins us from De La Salle. That's next on For the Love of the Game. Keep up to date with everything that's happening around the VAFA by subscribing to our socials. We're on Instagram, TikTok, X, Facebook and LinkedIn. Has someone just taken a screamer or kicked goal of the year? Send us your best and we might share them around the league. Join in the fun with all the best pics, videos, stories and reels from around the competition. They're all on VAFA socials. Search VAFA and VAFA Women's on your favourite platforms. This is For the Love of the Game. It's time to talk Holmesglen Under-19 Premier. And one of the stories of the season so far has been De La Salle, and we've got them this week. De La Salle versus Old Scotch. What a game this is going to be. Our KTV Under-19 Premier match of the round. Old Scotch sitting in 4th position. De La sitting in 5th position. St Bede's in 6th position. All 3 of them on 32 points. So Scotch at the moment sitting inside the 4. De La just outside on percentage. These 2 teams meet this weekend. You're going to see it live on KTV. Can't wait for this one. Joining us is Andy OTTEN, the coach of De La Salle's Under-19s team. Andy, thanks for your time, mate. We appreciate it.
No worries. Thanks for having me, guys.
Well, what a wonderful footy career you've had. 109 games at Adelaide, 2008 to 19. You're an assistant coach at Box Hill. You were at Collingwood as a development coach and a VFL coach, and then a VFL coach last year. This year, you've crossed to the Yamos. We're delighted to have you. You've taken on the role coaching De La Salle's Under-19 Premier team and their school team. Tell us about how that came about and why you made the change.
Yeah, it was a bit of a fortunate event, really. Billy Tyson, who's the head of football at De La Salle, gave me a buzz in January. He just said, "Do you want to come get a coffee?" And went through what he was after me to do, and that started with the school side on a Wednesday in the ACC, which I used to play for White Prize, so I know the ACC well. And then pretty quickly, their old 19s coach, Nick Walsh, his role changed and he had to go overseas, actually, to America. So he was the 19s coach. So then, so that all within a couple of weeks. So I quickly shifted into Walsh's role there. About to run both programs there. So the school first 18 and then the Under-19s program as well.
How have you found juggling the two? In fact, probably a better word than juggling is integrating the two. I mean, every school is looking to, and I know De La Salle are, to continue to build that pipeline from school to VAFA club. And now you've got the perfect opportunity to guide that process from both sides of the table.
Yeah, no doubt. It's really important, streamline for the club to make sure we get these dealer school kids coming down to support our VAFA program once they're finished their schooling. So it helps as well. A lot of the kids coaching during the school side are with our 19s program as well. So it kind of does help with game plan and communication and education. The management during the week is tricky with most of them playing on a Wednesday, so the Tuesday and Thursday trainings do become quite light during that term 2 period. But the boys manage it really well, and again, I can manipulate the kind of both game days to manage any players that might be a bit sore or in need of a bit more of a rest, which has been beneficial to the program.
Andy, thanks for your time today. We've marvelled at the evenness of the Under-19s competition so far this season. It's just a really competitive competition so far. Can you put a finger on why that is?
No, it's a great question. Again, my first kind of year in the VAFA and the 19s program, so how even it is has shocked me, that's for sure. And even looking at the ladder that you guys mentioned at the start, it's really tight across the group. And I think each week you've seen what some may seem as upsets, but I think just the change of each team side each week, and not sure which players you're going to get access to, whether it's Coach League players coming back in, or some players might be playing seniors, or that kind of winter break a fair few players seem to make, and then buys each week for those APS, AJAX schools. So each week seems to be a different team. We're probably getting 5 or 6 changes each week to our side. So I can imagine some of the other sides that are in the APS and AJAX as well. So I think it is dependent on who's available that week for you. And then I think that's creating a really even competition and, a lot of surprising score lines at times. But, I guess what you want is an even comp.
Well, this weekend, the old-fashioned 8-point game against Scotch, both on 8 and 6, and 8% separating you and St. Pete's. Just breathing down both. Next up, what do you take away from the last clash against the Cardinals?
Yeah, no doubt a really important game for us and end our season this weekend. I think we played them in round 2 at their ground, and I remember it was an afternoon, one of those 3 o'clock start times, and it was a really high-quality contest. They had some good players running around, we kind of got over the line in the last quarter, so expecting no different this week. They've had a good vein of form. I think they only team to beat Old Brighton this year. Just narrowly got over Caulfield last week, so expecting a really high quality contest, and going to really prep our boys to understand the importance of this game, and hopefully we can get the win.
Speaking of Old Brighton, last week the league leaders, you pushed them to 13 points after you guys had a couple of thumping wins the previous 2 weeks. So you came switched on to take on the Tunners and were right in the mix. What did you take out of that?
Yeah, really walked away disappointed to get the win, but pleased with our performance and thinking we left a bit out there. At times, our entries inside forward 50 were lacking a little bit of polish at times. But I thought we gave ourselves enough chances. I think we had a shot about halfway to the last to put us in the lead, but couldn't convert. And then Brian kicked 2 in a row. They're very solid side, really experienced. Obviously won the last 2 flags, and their back 6 held up really well. We were trying to come in that last quarter just to put a bit of scoreboard pressure on, but they held up really well. And they're a quality side and at that ground as well. But we did have a nice sunny morning out there with no wind, which everyone says was pretty rare. So it was really nice conditions. I'll walk away knowing that they're the kind of staple of the competition, and I do think if we're at our best, we'll be able to challenge them.
11:35 this Saturday, Salle taking on Old Scotch in our Holmesglen Under-19 Premier, live and exclusive on KTV. For those who haven't seen much of play, your team play this year, what does the game look like when it's on your terms, Andy? What sort of style of footy are you trying to play? And who are a couple of players we should be looking out for?
The style we want to play is empower the players to play, a fast, exciting brand of footy. But as always, kind of be able to defend in behind it as well. So, we like to run and carry and use our numbers up. Like to change lanes if we can. Try and give our forwards enough chances. Our backs have stood up pretty well most of the year. Some players who you should keep an eye on. Kieran Greville's coming off an outstanding game on the weekend. Heinze as well had a really good game last week. He's an Oakley Chargers product. So when we get access to him, he's been performing really well. Benny Miller, our captain, was back. He had 12 weeks out with a syndesmosis. First 5 rounds of the year, he was our best player by a mile, so it's great to have him back. And then our forward line, Big Brodie Rosny, has been a beacon for us up forward and playing a fair bit of ruck the last month for us out of necessity. They're kind of ones to watch there for us, no doubt.
Andy, thanks so much for your time, mate. Best of luck for this week and for the road ahead. It's going to be a fantastic finish to this Holmesglen Under-19 Premier season.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited as well.
Thanks, Andy. Appreciate your time.
Footy finals are almost here, and there's no better way to kick them off than at the 2026 William Buck VAFA Finals Luncheon. Join MC Nat Edwards, AFL legends and Brownlow medalists James Hird and Jimmy Bartel, plus Jason Bennett and the VAFA media team for a live For the Love of the Game finals preview. Friday, September 4th at the RACV City Club. Enjoy a premium 2-course lunch, beverage package and an unforgettable afternoon of football stories and finals insights. Book your tickets now at vafa.com.au. Don't miss out on one of the biggest events on the VAFA calendar.
What a game that promises to be. Salle taking on Old Scotch, and you will see it live and exclusive on KTV. Welcome, Dylan Humphries. Senchi, how are you?
It's good to be back for another week, and yeah, another Scotch win by a goal. So,
and Lockie Moyer, our Holmesglen under-19 Premier reporter, joins us as well. G'day, Lockie.
G'day, another great week of footy. Good to be back.
Yes, this ladder just continues to twist and turn. We spoke to Andy Otten. He was talking about how incredibly tight the competition is and how enjoyable it is for everybody involved. Let's start our report at Crawford Oval. It was our KTV Holmesglen Under-19 Premier match of the round. It was St Kevin's versus University Blues. And St Kevin's too good. 13-14-92 defeated the Blues 9-7-61. Lockie by 31 points.
Yeah, an important win for St Kevin's there, maintaining their second position on the ladder. Uni Blues actually came out firing after half-time, kicking 5 goals in 10 minutes to make it a contest. So giving St Kevin's a bit of a scare there, but they were able to regain control and adapt to the conditions and tweak their game plan, which has been sort of a major area of growth for them. They're really adaptable. Probably the only frustration for them is they weren't sort of completely able to put Uni Blues away, but another impressive win, and yeah, they're just sort of asserting themselves as one of the premier teams in the comp.
Lockie, we were sort of focusing on the game at Brighton Beach Oval on the Saturday morning in the lead up to afternoon matches. Old Brighton and De La Salle. Old Brighton winning 8-10, 58 to 6-9, 45. But it was a topsy-turvy encounter, this one.
Yeah, it was. De La had a really good crack here. It was a really quality game, very tight, which is what we want to see with these clashes. De La Salle actually exposed some of Brighton's weaknesses in that third quarter, and sort of the momentum was swinging their way. But look, Brighton's response in that final term was really impressive. They were able to maintain composure and stay at the win. So they're both very good sides and very fast and skillful. So it was a great watch. Andy Otten, who obviously you had on before, was very proud of the effort from Dealer. Had a lot of opportunities going inside 50, but just unfortunately couldn't make the most of them. So Brighton's back line was able to repel, and yeah, another important win for them, and they're obviously clear on top now.
And lucky Old Zabs with an convincing win over Beaumaris, but importantly, they were able to put the foot down and come away with a bit of a percentage booster, which could be key.
Yeah, it could be. It's obviously I think percentage is going to play a major role here. A lot of teams on the same points, so whenever you can get a big win, it's handy. I think Zabs were just able to hold their shape and really punished Beaumaris via turnover. I think Beaumaris were a bit sort of wasteful with the ball, and when you do that against the side like Zabs, they make you pay. So unfortunately for them, it just wasn't to be. Shout out to Will Dempster. He was excellent returning from senior duties, and had 17-year-olds as well step up and really play a key role. So let's just see if they can run out the season, bank a couple of wins maybe. But yeah, Old Zabs just too good, unfortunately, for them.
Old Zabs 14-19, 103, defeating Beaumaris 5-6, 36 by 67 points.
And over to Glen Huntly Park, Lockie. Old Scotch with their 4th win by a goal or less this year. So the Kings of the close game do it again.
100%. You would have been having a few heart palpitations there. Another close one. You would have been riding him home, I'm sure.
Definitely.
Yeah. One of the tightest games of the round. Really impressed with Caulfield's effort. They've obviously had some issues over the last couple of months with player availability and having to back players up. So really good that they can compete here with one of the better teams in the competition. Old Scotch deserve credit, though. They defended the game brilliantly in the final 2 minutes and closed it out. And it just sort of goes to show, I know we talk about it a lot, how close this comp is. So if you had a look at the last 2 months, you would have thought there's no way Caulfield could have got near them. But credit to them and the coach Cooper Rule, they were able to stay in the game and actually nearly pinched it. So, yeah, just once again showing how close the competition is.
It was a Matt Padgham snap goal to win the game, and Ed Brassington smother that,
got the job done.
Yeah.
8-11 to 7-11 in that game. It was also tight at Jerry Green Reserve. And a bit of an upset, it must be said, if you look at ladder position. Parkdale Vultures, who sit 8th at the moment on the ladder, knocking off St Bede's, who are a couple of spots ahead of them, 12-6, 78 to 9-11, 61 by 13 points.
Yeah, Parkdale get the bragging rights here. We obviously spoke about a bit of a rivalry game. This one, they're able to put in a good 4-quarter effort, something they've been building towards all season. St Bede's obviously fought right to the end, but Parkdale were just better in the key moments. Darley Cross, shout out to him. He did a great job shutting down dangerous St Bede's players, Lockie Hecker and Will Finch. They sort of weren't as prominent as they were. He did a really good job on them. So shout out to him. St Bede's struggled to peg Parkdale back after a really strong start. So inaccuracy probably hurt them, but yeah, full credit to Parkdale. They get the bragging rights there.
Yeah, 20 scoring shots to 18 in favour of St Bede's, but they fall 13 points short. Important loss for them too as we take a look at this incredible ladder in Holmesglen under-19 Premier with a month of footy still to play. Old Brighton have kicked clear. They're 2 games clear on top at 11 and 3, 44 points. Second spot is St Kevin's on 36. Third is Old Zavs on 36. They're a game clear of Old Scotch, Salle and St Bede's all on Mentone all on 32. So the race at the moment is in 6 really for the top 4, you would think. University Blues then sit a game and a half behind on 26 points. Parkdale on 20, Caulfield on 14 and Beaumaris on 8. So at the moment, St Bede sit on 32 points, but there's only one gap between 2nd and 6th with a month of footy to play. So still so much to play for. And this weekend, we've got some fantastic games. Let's get your tips. Looking at round 14, Lockie got 4 out of 5. Senshi only got 2. The comeback is on, Lockie. There's only 4. There's only 4 between you, 46 to 42. Things are starting to tighten up. But Senshi, of course, you're in front, so you still have the honour.
Yep.
Our Holmesglen under-19 Premier Match of the Day, as we've mentioned, it is going to be an absolute blockbuster. It's live and free on KTV from 11:35 this Saturday. It's at Waverley Oval as part of a double header because we'll also have the senior game, D-La versus Williamstown CYMS in Premier B Men's as part of the showcase round. That'll be on VAFA TV straight after. So a D-La double header for us this weekend, which is wonderful. But it's 5th versus 4th. A chance for D-La Salle to jump a game ahead of Old Scotch potentially or vice versa. Whoever wins kicks a game clear. D-La and Old Scotch at Waverley Oval.
Well, I'm interested to see where Lockie goes here, but I'll be going Scotch.
Lockie?
Yeah, can't jump off them. I'll go D-La. I think they're playing some good stuff. So hopefully, hopefully get the win.
And then another critical game. This is 8th versus 9th. Caulfield hosting Parkdale, 2 p.m. at East Caulfield Reserve.
I'll go Caulfield.
Oh, this is a tough one. I might go Parkdale away from home. Good win.
Yeah, really good win. Great form from them. But Caulfield almost seem like they're on the rise as well. So we've had 5th versus 4th. We've had 9th versus 8th. Now we're going to have 6th versus 7th. St Bede's Mentone Tigers against Uni Blues, 2 p.m. Mentone Reserve.
St Bede's for me.
I'll take Uni Blues away. I think they can.
Well, this is going to be a pivotal round in the two-week competition. Matty's just sitting back here with a smile on his face going, thank God I don't have to tip under 19 Premier. Okay, so we had 5th versus 4th. We had 9th versus 8th. We had 6th versus 7th. Now we've got 2nd versus 3rd. This is unbelievable this weekend. Old Zabs taking on St Kevin's, 2 o'clock, Stradbroke.
Give me the Zabs.
Oh, I'm going to have to go against you again.
Lockie could either be in front or done. So St Kevin's for Lockie. And the final game of the weekend, because all these other games in the middle of the ladder are all against each other, it's actually top versus bottom. It's Beaumaris versus Old Brighton, 2 o'clock at William Street Reserve.
I will go Old Brighton, and I challenge Lockie to tip against me here.
Go on, Lockie. Go on. You know you want to. Be brave.
I'm not game enough. I'm not game enough there. I'll go Old Brighton. I think they'll win.
He makes a business decision. So that is round 15. What a weekend it's going to be, and enjoy this one. D-La Salle versus Old Scotch, 11:35, live and exclusive on KTV. Don't miss it. It's going to be an absolute beauty. Lockie, thanks so much for your time as always.
Thanks, boys. See you soon.
The VAFA Rising Star Award recognises the competition's most talented young players. Each week, the VAFA Rising Star Committee receives nominations for 1 male and 1 female player aged 20 years or under who played no more than 7 senior games before this season. Our overall season winners will be declared the VAFA Rising Stars for 2026. So if your club has a young gun making their mark, nominate them now at media@vafa.com.au. This is for the love of the game. It is time, that time of the week we've all been waiting for. How much time and effort has Senshi put into Sench Watch? What do you got for us, mate?
We'll start with the undefeated teams.
Yes, let's do that.
So we lost one on the weekend.
So where were we? We were 6, weren't we?
Yeah, we're at 6 now.
We're down to the final 5.
Yeah, we're down to the final 5. So we lost Preston Bull Ants.
And whereabouts did they rank on your listings? Because for me, they were winning games pretty well. I thought they would be one of the last to drop off.
So I sort of just went through who played and who didn't on the weekend. It looked like they were missing about 8 of their best 22. So
I figured there had to be a story behind it.
Yeah.
Because they got not only did they get beaten, they got beaten by 107 points.
Yeah, remarkable. So we're down to Beaumaris, Prem B Women's, Collegian, Prem B Men's, D-La, Prem B Men's Reserves, Wattle Park, Div 3, they won by 240 on the weekend.
Yeah, kick the sweep.
Remarkable. And Masala, thirds Div 5, who have that draw, of course, so technically still count.
Yep, still undefeated.
Yeah.
Yep.
Moving on, over to Pegs. Blake Roach on the weekend had 48 disposals, 25 contested, 13 inside 50s, 10 clearances, 2 goals, 200 ranking points. Just thought that was worthy of a shout.
48 and 2.
Yeah, remarkable.
Is that in the ones? Was he playing in the ones at Peg? Yeah, because they had a great win.
Yeah,
didn't
they won by a 40 odds. So
yeah,
big win there. Over to continuing on in Premier C, Fletcher Ford has had 48 clearances in the last 2 weeks.
48 clearances.
He's gone 27 last week, 21 this week.
Do we know if he's a ruck or a midfielder?
he is a ruck.
He's a ruck, so he's taken it out of the ruck.
He had a down week this week.
But he's done this against Hampton in I think it was 3rd against 4th or 4th against 5th. So
wow.
Yeah, in some serious form.
That's incredible.
Over to Will Cooper in Premier Men's, made his senior debut on the weekend. He's played, that was his 71st game for the club. First senior game, so he's since 2019 he's worked his way through the 19s, reserves, thirds. So yeah, thought that was worthy of a shout out.
Definitely, he was they're on a multiple goal scorer as well.
Yep, kicked 2 goals. Yeah, South Melbourne in thirds, Div 6, won after the siren. It was a private player who kicked the winning goal, so I don't know.
I don't know who it is yet.
Not sure who it is, but he kicked 3 goals. It was 48 to 45 or something, but yeah. After the siren
winner for them.
Great result for the club. Former UA president Ben McGuigan and ex-boundary umpire coach Matthew Goff umpired in AFL London Grand Finals over the weekend.
Oh, good on him.
Matthew Goff officiated in the 2024 William Buck Premier Men's Grand Finals.
Right.
So now he's
moved over there for work and
doing
some umpiring across the other side of the world.
And the last thing I've got for you, I believe Mitch Cleary will make his VAFA debut this weekend
for Wattle Park.
Yeah, on Sunday
in the Div 12 Resis.
Yeah,
yeah, right. They ain't getting a game in the seniors. They just kicked 268 points. No one's walking into that team because he pinged a hammy, hadn't he, Mitch?
Yeah. So it's been every week. It's been an update. So I believe he's in. So
okay,
yeah,
okay. We'll keep a close eye on that. Well done, Senchi. Thank you. Let's talk big bags and time watch. Thanks to Sharon, and we had 3 double-figure hauls over the weekend. Starting with one of the best names in the VAFA. We had Jethro Gunn on earlier, that's on the podium.
That is a good one.
Jasper Conquest.
Oh,
that is a strong name.
That is a beauty.
In the Scob thirds, he kicked 12 on the weekend. Jasper Conquest, he's got 44 for the year. Well done to Jasper, kicked the dozen. Ned Cooper-Johnston from Fitzroy Resi's kicked 11 on the weekend. He's got 35 for the year. Aidan Birch from Therry Penola thirds kicked 10. He's got 32 for the year. And Nick James from Marcelin thirds kicked 8. He's got 26 for the season. 6 players kicked 7 on the weekend, and 15 players had a haul of 6 goals. Ton watch time, thanks to Sharon, and it is very, very tight at the top. We have got ourselves a fantastic goal-kicking race this year. There is 1 goal separating the top 3 players at the moment, and across the top 15, there's 15 goals between the top 15 players. So leading the comp at the moment after 4 goals on the weekend, he sits on 64. It is Luca DeLello from MHSOB, the youngster, on 64. He is 1 goal clear of Patrick Carricker, who kicked 3 on the weekend. He's on 63. And James Stewart, who kicked 6 on the weekend. He's on 63. So Luca DeLello, 64. Carricker, 63. Stewart, 63. 3 goals back to Rogan Kitts, who's got 4 goals. He's got 64 the weekend. So 64, 63, 63, and Rogan Kitts on 60. 2 goals back to Hayden Boyce, who kicked 3 on the weekend. He's on 58. Mitch Brown still, of course, out of the side at the moment, waiting to see when he comes back from his hamstring. He's on 57.
This week, I reckon.
It's this week?
I reckon we can predict he'll be back this week. Talking to Owen Law the other week, he said they wanted to give him a bit more time because he played in the finals last year, played on 1 leg, and they've learnt from that, so they want him fit and firing. So don't be surprised if he takes the lead eventually once he does get back.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, he's still within striking distance, isn't he? He's only 7 goals off the lead.
Well, they kicked 28 goals on the weekend. I'm not sure they need to rush him back.
There's plenty to go around, isn't there? You're right. It's absolutely right. So Mitch Brown's on 57. Tommy Gorell kicked 3. He's on 56. Mahi Patel kicked 3. He's on 54. And then a couple of first-time appearances in Tunwatch this year. They've come from nowhere, obviously starting to kick some goals in a hurry. Joey Katsubis from Masala thirds. He's 21 years of age. It's his first season. He's kicked 20 goals in the last 5 weeks. He's coming with a bullet. He kicked 7 on the weekend. He has 53 for the season. Will Snooks kicked 6 to get himself back on the leaderboard. He's at 51. Another first timer, Darcy Hepburn from Scob Under-19 Premier. He kicked 6. He's on 51 as well.
So he now leads Under-19 Premier by 13 goals.
Yeah,
and
right.
He's first to 50 in the comp. So.
And from MHSOB, Resis and thirds, Michael Van Benton kicked a couple. He's on 51. So that is 12 players now have hit the half-ton in the half-ton watch in season 2026. Will Hart on 49, Charlie McIsaac with his 3 goals on 49, and Jai Pugsley kicked 4. He's on 49 as well. But at the top of the table, Luca Delello 64, Pat Carricker 63, James Stewart 63, Rogan Kitts on 60.
Do you still believe? Has anyone's opinion changed from last week to
Well,
this?
James Stewart's got a month plus...
maybe 3 finals.
At least 2 finals, maybe 3. So that's 6 more games. What does he need? 6 goals a week.
Well, he did it last
Still
week.
possible.
I will believe if someone is on 75 after this week.
So what does he need?
So Luca would have to kick 11. James would have to kick a dozen.
Yeah.
We're counting the goals that Luca kicked in the big V
Yes,
game?
we are.
Yep. Okay, good.
So that counts because it's just goals in total for the season.
Every little bit helps.
Yep, that's right. And you've got to think James Stewart, of course, has played 1 less game. He's got 1 up his sleeve over the others as well.
That's it, yeah.
All those other guys are playing divisional footy, so they've all played the extra game.
Yeah, I feel like Stewart is our best chance.
Yeah, we'll wait and see. VAFA Women's, Geordie Mifsud kicked another 6, so she's on her way to a half century, which is a great effort. She's on 42. She's 10 goals clear now of Georgia Harris from Port Melbourne Chargers. G, as Sunday referenced her earlier. So she's on 32. Bella Geetsman also on 32 for Ormond after she kicked 5 on the weekend. Mia Cowan kicked 5 as well for Old Scotch. She's on 30. And Asher Price kicked a couple for Melbourne Uni. She's on 28. So Geordie Mifsud on 42. Georgia Harris and Bella Geetsman on 32. Mia Cowan 30 and Asher Price on 28. Well, it's tips time. I can put it off for no longer, Matty. We had to get to it at some stage.
Yep.
How did you think you went over the weekend? Were you feeling good about things?
Yeah, I thought I had a good fortnight coming into this one, but I probably got a little overconfident.
Just got ahead of yourself a little?
Yeah, I think so.
Forgot to take it week by week and focus on the process?
Yeah, brought back down to earth, I think, this week.
You had 7 for the weekend. 2 Premier Women's, 2 Premier B men's, and 3 out of 5 in the Premier Men's. Yeah. Brayden had 9. So Brayden went 3, 3 and 3 across the 3 sections. So he's extended his lead back out to 13 after he just started to close the gap over a couple of weeks. So Brayden 136, Matty 123. Let's start with Premier Women's round 15 action. And this one is a critical game. It's really a must-win game. It's 8th versus 7th. It's Old Geelong hosting St Kevin's, 10:55 Como Park.
I'll go Old Geelong at home.
I've tipped Old Geelong for this one too.
Old Geelong for both. And now 4th versus 5th, again, talking of important games.
Yeah.
Kew are in, Brunswick are on the outside looking in. So it's Kew versus West Brunswick, 4th versus 5th, 2 p.m. at Victoria Park in Kew.
Oh, this one is tough because West Brunswick will want to bounce back after a disappointing loss to Old Geelong, and Kew were beaten as well by Old Brighton, but I'm going to back the Bears to get the job done.
Yeah, I've tipped Kew here.
Caulfield versus Fitzroy, 2nd versus 6th at Glen Huntly Park.
The Fields for me.
Yeah, Caulfield.
And the final game of Premier Women's for round 15, Westbourne 9th versus Old Scotch. So bottom versus top, Westbourne versus Old Scotch at Andrew Park at Westbourne.
The away side for me.
Yeah, the risk of sounding too much like Senji, I'm going to go with Old Scotch here.
Old Brighton have the bye in Premier Women's. Across to Premier B, showcase round. You'll be able to watch every one of these games live and free simultaneously on our mega wall. Just go to vafa.com.au, click on the links. You can sit back and watch all these games at once, and haven't we got some absolute belters in them? Well, Brayden, you have first the honour here, of course, because you're out in front. So it is, we'll start with the top 4 battle. Old Camberwell taking on Collegians.
The Lions. Unfortunately for Old Camberwell, hitting form, as we've seen a lot of sides do this year, and then the fixture just goes, I have the Lions, but I think the Lions will be way too strong.
Yeah, I do think Old Camberwell might fancy their chances at home, but it's impossible to tip against Collegians.
Old Camberwell for me.
Wow.
Well, apparently not.
To tip the upset.
Jimmy Allen legacy game.
Yeah, now Jimmy Allen had a big game on the weekend, didn't he?
Yeah. 4th quarter, he had 13 touches and 7 clearances to get him home.
In the last quarter.
I reckon he had 37 odd for the game. So
wow.
Yeah.
Well, if he can do that again, anything's possible. De La Salle 2nd, so 2nd versus 2nd bottom. De La Salle taking on Willie CYMS, but as we've discussed, you can almost forget the ladder positions on this one. Willie CYMS have played some good footy in the last couple of weeks. Can you mount an argument for them getting past D-La?
No, D-La just had a bit of an off day on Saturday, and I think they'll bounce back pretty convincingly.
I think you can make a case for the visitors, but D-La will want to bounce back.
I believe Filipovic's still out, so I'll tip Willie. I'm not just tipping the upsets.
No, that's okay.
No,
No problem if you do. No problem if you do.
He's just going against me. I've noticed.
Yeah, that's generally a pretty sound strategy.
It seems to work.
Yeah. 8th versus 3rd. Old Carey taking on OMs. Critical game for OMs as they're trying to stay ahead of the pack.
Yeah, I'll go OMs, and I'm sure Matty's probably about to as well.
Yeah, I've tipped OMs.
OMs for me as well.
OMs across the board. Wow, this is one of our huge games across the weekend. This one, they'll all be available on vafa.com.au. It's 5th versus 6th. That game we talked about with Jethro, the young gun, AJAX and Beaumaris.
Just because we've had Jethro, and I was super, super impressed with the young man. You would have thought he was a 30-year-old. We threw the cliches out. He's going to have about 40, and AJAX are going to win.
So he'll have a quiet day, Jethro, just the 40.
That's a quiet day for him.
So AJAX for you, Brayden.
I mean, if ever you're just going to outright tip a draw, it could be this match. No, look, I'll go AJAX. They lost last week, but they didn't play badly. I understand they'll get a few more blokes back. I'm going to tip AJAX.
I reckon you wait for the next match to tip the draw. I'll go AJAX here.
AJAX across the board. And the final game of the weekend in Premier B Showcase round, 7th versus 9th. Again, we talk about important games. Old Geelong is still in the finals hunt, but they're also still in the relegation race as well. So it's Old Geelong in 7th against Old Ivanhoe in 9th, and you can almost throw the form guide out the window.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're right. These two teams, since you did play off in a draw earlier on in the season, including Old Ivanhoe last week. So, no, we could be on track for another close one, I reckon.
I like the way you almost gave the tip and then just reeled it back in again to go, hang on, I'm going to see who Brayden tips first.
I'm going to go OGs at home.
Yeah, Old Geelong for me as well.
Old Ivanhoe.
Old Ivanhoe for Senchi. And now to William Buck Premier Men's round 15 action. What a game this is. Top 4 battle down at Brighton Beach Oval. You can see it live on KTV. You can listen to it live on the SEN app from 1:45 on Saturday. Matty Donald will be down there with Hugo. It's Old Brighton sitting in 4th against the top of the table, Uni Blues. Can the Tunners snap the Blues winning streak, or do they keep rolling towards September?
I think this is the toughest of the lot to pick this weekend. This is going to be an absolute belter down at Brighton Beach Oval. I'm actually finding it really tough to land on a winner here.
I'm going to back the Blues with the experience. I think it's meant to be pretty wet and cold, and I just think the bigger bodies, the experience that they've got, and Stewart, it's going to be the difference.
Well, if it's going to be wet, that might take Stewart out of the equation a little bit. I'm going to tip Old Brighton.
I'll go with Matty here.
Thanks for reminding me that I've got to bring an umbrella now.
Old Scotch versus Trinity, 5th versus 9th. Again, the Scotchies aren't totally clear of relegation, but if they can win this game, they just about will be. And for Old Trinity, as we said, they are still in a decent position to make a late charge to safety, but if it can start this week, that would put enormous pressure on the teams immediately above them. You can see this one live and free on VAFA TV from 1:55 Saturday. Old Scotch versus Old Trinity at Camberwell.
Old Scotch for me.
Yeah, Old Scotch just. This will be a close game.
Old Scotch.
Old Scotch across the board. Another game you can see live and free, 1:55, VAFA TV on Saturday. Uni Blacks, the dangerous Uni Blacks, taking on Old Zavs. Old Zavs on the rebound. Blacks are still fighting for survival. It's at Melbourne Uni.
And Zavs are going to get back on track.
Zavs to bounce back, yeah.
Yeah, Xavier.
Zavs across the board. St Kevin's 3rd versus Old Haileybury 8th. We've spoken about Old Haileybury. They've got a very, very tough last month. It feels like they might need to jag at least one win, maybe two from somewhere. It's going to need to be an upset. Is it this week? St Kevin's and Old Haileybury at St Kevin's.
Nah, St Kevin's will clean up their act. I think they obviously had a bit of a fight with the 3-point win on the weekend. I reckon they'll get back to their best.
Yeah, they got away with one last week, St Kevin's, but they'll set things right this week. They'll make sure of a win here.
And both these teams getting players back week after week, which is important. So I think maybe give it another week and they're almost both at full strength. But they've both had huge numbers out and they've been getting half a dozen players back every week. Half a dozen on the weekend, probably another half a dozen this week. So St Kevin's, and
St Kevin's.
Right across the board. And the final game of the weekend, St Bernard's versus Caulfield. If the Snow Dogs are any chance at all of dragging themselves to safety late in the season, as they've done the last couple of years, they'll take on Caulfield, who can basically almost kick themselves to safety. Certainly they'll get away from the Snow Dogs, but still some work to do for the Fields to make sure they stay up in Premier Men's. Does it start this weekend? It's at the Snake Pit, which adds another dimension as well. St Bernard's and Caulfield.
St Bernard's for me.
I've tipped the Snow Dogs too. They're going to throw a curveball in this relegation race.
Wow.
St Bernard's.
St Bernard's across the board to win at home. What a weekend it's going to be. It's our biggest broadcast weekend of the year. We've got 10 live games this weekend, and we're delighted that Brayden, you'll be commentating on one of them for us. We appreciate that.
That is news to me.
Our SEN and KTV game is Old Brighton versus Uni Blues. That's where you'll be, Matty. What a game that's going to be.
Yeah, I can't wait for it.
We'll also have Old Scotch, Old Trinity on VAFA TV. We'll have Uni Blacks and Old Zabs on VAFA TV. Our Under-19 Premier game on KTV will be De La Salle versus Old Scotch. All 5 Premier Men's Showcase games from 1:55 on Saturday as well. And then the Premier Women's Clash between Port Melbourne Chargers and Beaumaris, also from 1:55, live and free on VAFA TV. So exciting with a month to go in the season. So much footy to watch, and we'll be able to enjoy it all live and free.
No, this race to September is going to be a beauty. At both ends of the ladder, there's still so much to play out, and our tips hold true this weekend. Yeah, it'll change the game again.
Who's your lock of the weekend, Senchi? You've always got one.
Old Ivanhoe.
Old Ivanhoe to knock off Old Geelong.
Yeah.
You heard it here first. We'll be back next week to wrap up what promises to be a phenomenal weekend and a pivotal weekend. Don't forget, you can see so much action this Saturday on VAFA TV, the SEN app, and Community TV. We'll be back next week for the love of the game.